I think the decision to sort of angle towards a more serious game, a more focused game, came off of basically came off of the exodus of Nulf. The series, the both Nulf One and Nulf Two were critically acclaimed, and but they were resonating to a very focused, audience, and so the goal to sort of broaden that out and hit a larger scope of people was the smart move, right? Fear's goal is all about atmosphere. It's about this cinematic approach to this game that's a combination of high action and these horror elements, a supernatural element that sort of is a undercurrent for the whole game. You have this high impact game, high action game that is focused in sort of ebb and flow, leading the player into these moments where there's chaos. You come around the corner, bullets are flying, debris everywhere, and then just when you think there's like calm coming over that scene, something weird happens, and you get this little like vision of something, and you're like, what the hell? And it really, what it does is it stalls the natural motivation for first-person shooters to just fly through stuff, because it really sort of stops you in your tracks, and you go, okay, that's weird. I think I'll go slowly. And so that's basically the whole, the premise is to really control the pacing through that, through that peak element. Everything visually is set to be in real-world applications so that the player can key into those pieces and really be immersed in that entire atmosphere. I mean, every location is set to make you feel like, okay, I'm there. I'm part of this place. That's why the focus on the tech and the rendering went up to the degree it did. It's a completely new engine, so built from the ground up specifically for F.E.A.R. So the focus on AI for F.E.A.R. was going, what could they do after Nulf 2 where it was a very dynamic AI system, and then they've kicked it up another step. So they've taken it to where the AI is communicating with itself. There aren't a lot of pre-scripted events. It's more about like the AI using cover. They'll flip up tables, duck behind barrels, all the things that people would normally do, and in fact all the things that the player is more likely to do in himself. And you'll see him put the gun over the box and just start unloading over there because they're trying to distract you while two of their guys come and flank from the side. Close quarter combat, intense, visceral close quarter combat. F.E.A.R.'s sound design, James, it's the same team that has worked on the sound for Monolith as before, and they have they have ways with sound that are very impressive. They're all about atmosphere, so you get a very nice layer of just this ambience that's there, and you're sort of like you're sucked in. You don't really know. They just like, there's a high pitched tone, and you're like, okay, you're not really you're not aware of it, but it's there. And then when you start to, so you're sort of uncomfortable, and that's all built in through what they're doing with sound.
Some suspicious interference. Are you reading it on your end?
Roger that. Wait a second. I don't think that's static. I think it's a signal.
Yeah, I mean, the Monolith's past in multiplayers has always been driven for, they've always been going for quality, and we're absolutely all about it. The key thing that this game is doing different than some of the other games have done in the past is that it's keeping a consistent tone and theme into the multiplayer. So again, we go back to really close quarter combat, high intensity. So small groups of people you're working in team units. You come into the fray of these firefights, and it's all, there's an intensity there, and because the tone is consistent with the single player, there's this overriding element of like, man, there's bad stuff happening here.
Jin, hold position on your floor. Hey, coming to you. Holiday, you ready to move? Oh, I'm ready.
F.E.A.R.'s focus is just that. It's a focused experience as opposed to, it is not as big a game as the Nulf series was. It's a much more focused and intense experience. So we're not gonna quantify. We're not really saying yet like, oh, it's X levels and this many hours of gameplay, because it really is going to vary depending upon how you play. So, a more stealth-based player is going to take a long time to get through it. And one of the action guys is going to think they're going to jam through it, but they'll get caught up because, you saw the AI in action. So it's a balance of playtime there, but the focal point is, the goal is that it's a much more intense and focused experience. There are a lot of surprises, yeah. There are some genuinely creepy moments. There are moments in this game where you're sort of like going through a section and something like I've come up on a point, even when knowing what the idea is behind it, coming down the hallway. Picture you're sort of driving, you're walking down this hallway, it's dark, you can't see anything, so you pull on your flashlight, you have a narrow band of vision, and you're sort of like squinting a little bit. For some reason, you're squinting at the screen, you're like, what the hell? And you see at the very end of the hall, you just see Alma just there for like that. And you're like, what? You get closer and you check again because you're like, what? And it makes you sort of take your hands off the keyboard for a second and go, what the hell?
Or the evil that you don't know.
Tomcat, this is Denver. We're picking up some suspicious interference. Are you reading it on your end?
Roger. Standing by. What the hell was that?
What you're going to see in F.E.A.R is not so much about the individual sort of feature sets as much as it is about the entire experience all brought together. Like you're going to see elements in certain games that you've seen before, but not put together the way this game is. And there are innovations in the game that set it above and beyond. So I think, as a whole package, my expectations are very high that it's both going to deliver on a critical success as well as a commercial success.
Do you know the true meaning of fear?